On March 31st, the Fairfield Police Department responded to a report of a missing juvenile in the 2200 block of Fieldcrest Court. As part of the search for the missing child, the residence itself was searched by responding officers. While inside, officers located unsafe and unsanitary living conditions, including garbage and spoiled food on the floor, animal and human feces, and a large amount of debris making areas of the house unpassable. 9 more children, ranging in ages from 4 months to 11 years, were contacted inside the residence. The missing 12-year-old was located a short time later, asleep under a bush in the yard of a nearby residence. Officers contacted the Solano County Child Welfare Office and took custody of all 10 children that night. The children were placed into the care of other family members that evening. The children's mother, Ina Rogers, was booked on child endangerment charges that night. Our Family Violence Unit detectives took over the investigation, and with the assistance of Child Welfare Services and the cooperation of the family members currently caring for the children, we were able to interview 8 of the children. The children described incidents of intentional abuse resulting in puncture wounds, burns, bruising, and injuries consistent with being shot with a pellet gun or a BB gun. An arrest warrant was then obtained for Jonathan Allen, along with a search warrant for the home. Both of these were served on May 11th. Mr. Allen was formally charged with 7 counts of torture and 9 counts of felony child abuse by the Solano County District Attorney's Office. The Fairfield Police Department is committed to ensuring the safety of our greatest asset and future, the children of our community. We are asking that anyone with information regarding this case contact the Fairfield Police Department Investigations Bureau at 707-428-7600. Callers may also contact our 24-hour hotline at 707-428-7345 or text to tip Fairfield PD, followed by your message to 888-777. Callers and texters can remain anonymous. That concludes our statement. If there's any brief questions you have.
You read it, but could you elaborate on what these kids said happened to them, and was it in the hands of both the mother and father, or it sounds like the charges of the worst that you came from the father?
Right, I understand the question is about the specifics of what some of the statements the children made. And so, again, I understand there's a great interest in the case and what facts come up during the investigation, but we don't want to in any way compromise the case before the judicial hearings. And so we're not prepared to offer any factual statements about what was said or...
Could you just repeat what you said, though, just say it without reading?
I wasn't reading it then, so I can't really read it back to you. We don't want to compromise the case in any way by discussing any of the facts of the case, so specific statements made by any of the children, photographs of injuries, or some of the crime scene themselves, those kinds of things. All that will come out during a legal proceeding.
I'm talking about some of the incidents you referred to in your statement.
You want me to read that part again?
Well, could you just say it?
Could I say? I'll tell you what, I'll read that paragraph about the children described incidents of intentional abuse resulting in puncture wounds, burns, bruising, and injuries consistent with being shot with a pellet gun or an airsoft gun.
Do you have any indication that the mother knew of those, that was happening?
I don't have any indication of what the mother knew or didn't know, and couldn't really comment on what her depth of knowledge is at this point.
Is she facing any additional charges?
I would say that there's a good chance that additional charges will come out as the investigation continues.
Greg, did either the mom or the dad,
One at a time, please. Sorry.
Greg, did either the mom or the dad provide some kind of statement that in their mind justified, so to speak, their behavior, meaning they believe that the kids were acting out or had behavioral issues, that they attempt to try to explain their actions?
I believe the parents were interviewed. To the extent of their statement, I'm not prepared to comment.
Was the mother's bail raised to $5 million?
I'm not aware of that.
The mom told us that CPS told her that kids were fine, there was no sign of abuse or neglect, that all she could do was clean up her house. true, or did she not understand, or did subsequent interviews for information of the kids since her arrest?
So the charges with the children, my understanding is that during that 6-week period that the children were not in the home, information came forward based on statements the children were giving to family and to others that resulted in a larger criminal investigation than was initially discovered on the 31st of March.
And so that's why then the father was arrested.
That's correct.
Were the children enrolled in school?
My understanding is the children were homeschooled.
Was there any other contact before this to child services?
That I don't know. I couldn't comment on that.
The affidavit mentions a criminal complaint goes back to 2014. Was that based on statements that children made investigators?
I couldn't comment on any of the facts of the case, and I'm not familiar with any of the earlier information, so.
District Attorney go on the gaps here,
Would you like to comment, Sharon?
Yes, S-H-A-R-O-N, Henry, H-E-N-R-Y. Complaint. Chief Deputy DA. So as previously stated, after about a 6-week period when the children were safe with other family members, it came to light that there was significant abuse and incidents of torture. And so the children were interviewed by professionals, and during those statements, it was revealed the acts that are the basis for the allegations in the complaint. And so, excuse me, so during that period of time, I think the question was about the date range. So the children who were interviewed talked about the incidents that went back several years. And so that is the reason why you have charges in the complaint from 2015.
They date back all the way to 2014.
Well, I have the complaint here. Let me look through to make sure I have the dates correct. I think the earliest is 2014. Correct.
And Ms. Henry, can you confirm that both the mother and the father have each been formally charged, or just the father is not?
So when the police first responded to the incident in March, in which it was explained to you the condition of the house, the mother was arrested and charged for child endangerment. So there are court proceedings that are taking place related to that. When the children disclosed other incidents, felony charges were filed against the father. We are in the process, because of that new information, of amending, making a motion to amend the complaint to add the appropriate charges based upon the new information that was revealed since March.
So will the mother face torture charges as well, and child abuse charges?
We are in the process of making the decisions to file the appropriate charges.
Talk about just both of you, I'm sure that's our veterans of this work, and talk about just your emotional feeling about a case like this, and the gravity of the situation and the number of children and all of it.
As a career prosecutor, based upon the information that I know, I'm horrified by the statements that were given by these children. We are now in this process, and we have the children first and foremost in our minds, and as a parent, first and foremost in my heart. And we're giving you limited information because we believe we want justice to prevail here. So the defendants have a right to a fair trial, as well as the people. So we want to make sure that this case is litigated in the court. Thank you.
So they were saying that they'd only lived here for a year. Are you going
Right. My understanding is that the Family Violence Unit is taking a look back historically at where the family has been and who they've been around. And that's one of the reasons we're reaching out and asking if anybody has any information to call us. We're interested in talking to any neighbors, family, friends, relatives that may have additional information, whether it be from the city of Fairfield or their previous addresses.
One of the neighbors, a couple across the street said they didn't even know they had kids, and these folks have lived there for 20 years. So they didn't even know they had any kids until one went missing, and they were surprised to hear that they were homeschooled, and there were 10 kids in there. What does that tell you about what might have been going on in there? Is that helpful in any way to hear that?
All information is helpful in the case, and we want to hear all of it. We'd love to talk to every neighbor. I understand we intend to go back out and canvass a larger area to ask for additional information. So what does it mean to me? It means a lot of things to me as a human being, but as a police officer, I'm just interested in interviewing and getting to the facts, and so we ask that they make sure they contact us if they haven't already been interviewed.
Do you believe that all 10 children were the victims of this abuse and torture?
Without revealing the details, I believe the youngest child was 4 months old. We have, based upon what I've seen, we believe that 9 of the children were abused. But as I said, the investigation, or as we have been telling you, the investigation is still ongoing, even though there is a prosecution. So any information that is given to the police agencies, they follow up, and if there's new evidence that comes along, we will make the appropriate decisions at that time.
So is the baby the one that wasn't abused?
Well, based upon what we know now, I can't say one way or the other, but based upon what we know now, we filed the appropriate charges for the 9 children, 9 of the 10.
Can you talk about previous history, whether there were previous Fairfield police visits to that home and or CPS visits?
I don't know what CPS has done or not done. I understand that they took good care of the children after the 31st. As far as our past history, it was minimal. My understanding is, looking back at the address, although we are continuing to try and pull up additional information on the address. So there's different databases, and we don't want to rely just simply on what came through our dispatch center to know what kind of information came here. So I don't want to prematurely make any statement about what had happened in the past. Does that make sense?
Hey, Lieutenant, the mother claimed that some of the mess left in our house today was left by your officers, but the arrest was made on Friday. Just lying about that?
Well, I'm not going to tell you whether somebody's lying or not. I know everybody has their own perception. Certainly a search warrant was executed on Friday, which is 6 weeks after the children were removed from the home. So they were removed from the home based on the condition of the residence on the 31st of March, not on the condition of the residence necessarily on Friday when we executed the search warrant. Does that help that a little bit?
There was a search, though.
There was a search warrant, and so objects were obviously probably moved while conducting that search. That was not the basis for the charges regarding the environment the children were in, though. We didn't create one, if that makes sense.
Did any of the injuries require medical attention, hospitalization, anything of that sort?
No, and that part of the challenge is that the night that we initially responded and talked to the children, took them into custody, they didn't require any emergency medical assistance that night. And so a lot of the information comes up during the weeks that they're with other family members as they start to get oriented with them and make statements and comments, and then we pull them in for a formal interview, which is a center that specializes in interviewing child victims that are monitored and that kind of things. And so it takes a lot to get prepared to interview such a number of people, and that's when the extent of what had really been happening historically was discovered. And as a result, we obtained an arrest warrant, a search warrant, and additional arrest was made and charges filed.
Any evidence of malnutrition, lack of other care, other than
I would say that there was enough evidence to charge somebody with 7 counts of torture. So.
How were the children developmentally? Were they being schooled at home?
My understanding is that was a statement that they were homeschooled. I couldn't comment on how successful that was for the children and their well-being, to be honest with you.
Do you know if she showed us, she called her meditation room where she taught the kids. Do you know if they've gone through the proper procedures to
you were homeschooled?
That I'm not familiar with, to be honest with you. I just know that purely based on family statement of what the children got through.
Have you come across a case of this before in your experience?
I've not had a case where we charge somebody with torture of their own children, if that tells you something. I've been in law enforcement since, well, more than 30 years ago, so.
Ms. Henry, can you define what torture means in a legal sense? Is it as simple as not feeding a child, or is it practicing some type of physical contact?
Right. It's torture, and we mainly see this particular type of crime over a period of time where physical harm is inflicted upon a person with the intent to cause cruel and extreme pain and suffering. And in this particular instance, we believe for the purpose, or for a sadistic purpose. So based upon what the children stated during their interviews, we believe that torture occurred in this house.
How are the children now? How are they doing? Can you give us any snapshot of how they're doing?
I understand that the children were placed all with various family members and that they're adjusting somewhat well. I mean, they've had a challenging life to this point. So all I know is that they're successful in where they've been transplanted and seem to be improving. I know a lot of people have inquired about the health of the children and if they can make donations, clothing, those kinds of items, and we would ask that those people make contact with Child Protective Services and they could funnel those to the appropriate locations for the children.
What in the search warrant were you specifically looking?
I did not read the search warrant, so I couldn't tell you. I know they were looking for something specific based on the interviews with the children and their condition that was documented during the interviews. The specific items, I honestly don't have access to that information. I'm sorry.
What is the occupation of the parents and what do they do?
What is the occupation of the parents is the question, and I'm not aware what the occupation is.
Can you one more time just describe the condition of the home when you first got there on March 31st? And then consequently after that, how long did it take before you made the arrest of your father?
So March 31st, officers went there. That's when they observed the residence in a lot of disarray. Some of the areas of the house couldn't be accessed due to the amount of debris that was present. There was human and animal feces and urine on the floor. It was obviously unsanitary and not a condition that children or any human probably should be living in at the time. It went beyond somebody simply not cleaning house for the day. As far as the conditions 6 weeks later when we went and conducted a search warrant, they hadn't improved much from what I saw, and it resulted in the arrest of the father, and he was brought in for interrogation.
Is it true they were all sharing one room, possibly even just a single bed or a few beds?
I'm not certain, to be honest with you.
Just to clarify, you said had not improved. Conditions had not improved.
That's based purely on my own observation. I couldn't tell you, I wasn't there physically either time. I just saw a photograph. I think that's going to conclude our conference for today. I really appreciate everybody's attendance and questions. We certainly will keep you informed with any significant progress as it goes forward, and obviously we wish the best for the children, which is really the true victims of the case and who we're concerned for.
And when do you anticipate additional charges potentially, that decision to be made for the mother?
Within the next few days.
And she already had court hearings?
Yes.
And someone said that his bail was raised to $5 million today. Is that accurate?
Yes, a little over $5 million.
A little over?
Yes.
First was one.
Well, you mean for her current pending charges? I can't recall. It was nowhere near $5 million, but you're looking at a misdemeanor charge, which is going to be a lot less bail.
And her misdemeanor charge was
for child endangerment.
And how many counts, I'm sorry?
One count listing all children.
Child endangerment, not child neglect, is there a difference?
Well, it's we kind of use that in a sum it all kind of term, but it can include neglect as well.
And did the judge increase the bail to $5 million given the totality of the case?
Regarding,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
He's back in court then.
The first date he's back in court is May 24th for a readiness conference. I believe that's at 8:30 in Department 11. And for preliminary hearing, May 25th at 10 o'clock, I believe, in the same department. I could be wrong about that last time, but I believe it's 10.
7 counts of torture or 9?
7 counts of torture, 9 counts of felony child abuse. Pardon me? I believe he was arraigned, yes, he was arraigned. So he entered a not guilty plea.